Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Carrie Sanderson. I'm excited to be here today again to talk to you about our second C, which is care. I'm going to share a couple of practices that will help you manage your mind and heart for well-being. I'm sorry I'm not there in person today. I'm actually in Philadelphia at a positive psychology conference, so excited to do that. But here we go, talking about care today. So if you recall, last time we talked about the 5 C's of well-being that we have implemented here at Gateway: character, care, connection, contribution, and career. And we talked last time about character strengths. So today we're going to just do a quick visit with care, taking care of our emotional, physical, and environmental needs to cultivate conditions for flourishing. So there's lots of different elements that can fall under care. But what I wanted to talk to you about today are 2 things specifically: mindfulness and emotion regulation, which really contribute to resilience. Resilience is something we've been hearing a lot about, particularly through and kind of coming out and recovering from the pandemic. And people think of resiliency as the ability to bounce back. But in positive psychology, we actually take it a step further and think of it as the ability to bounce back better. So that ability to be buoyant, to kind of always float back up to the top. And when you face challenges or adversity, there's actually the ability to come out of it better because you've created some new resources, you've learned how to adapt, and you can thrive in the face of challenges. We've all heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, but this is actually taking a look at post-traumatic growth. And research has shown that there are a number of protective factors that contribute to our resiliency, including character strengths, which we've already talked about, mindfulness and emotion regulation, which is what we're going to talk about today, and purpose and meaning, which we will talk about in a future session. So what is mindfulness? Love this definition. Jon Kabat-Zinn is probably the foremost researcher and practitioner in this area. Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So there's kind of a lot to unpack there, but really being intentional about staying in the present moment and paying attention to your thoughts, your emotions, kind of what other people are doing, but trying as hard as you can to stay non-judgmental. For a lot of us, when we first attempt, mindfulness can kind of look like this. The benefits of a mindfulness practice, are great. Again, lots of research. I like this quote because it really captures for me what mindfulness means for me. Stop trying to calm the storm, calm yourself, and the storm will pass. So really that ability to not get hijacked by our emotions, to pay attention to them, to take information from them, but not to get hijacked by them, not to another analogy that I like with mindfulness is that you can watch the storm through the window. So it can be raining, but you don't have to actually go out into the rain, but still be aware of it. So some of the benefits of meditation: gaining a new perspective on stressful situations, building skills to manage your stress, increasing self-awareness, being able to really be in the present moment. That's so hard with all of the distractions that we face all day, every day, phones and work and families and all the things, but really being able to stay in the present moment. And then it also helps to reduce and manage negative and uncomfortable emotions. My story of mindfulness: I've been meditating for probably regularly, almost every day, for probably 5 or 6 years now. And it really has changed the way I approach the world, how I approach my work. And this story, though, really shows the deep benefits of mindfulness. During the pandemic, I was actually driving my daughter to get a COVID test, and I was crossing a really busy intersection and saw that this truck was turning. And in that moment, I was able to not panic for some reason. I'm not sure. But just staying really super present in the moment and being able to make split-second decisions about how to handle it. And I was able to brake and swerve the car a little bit. And I really do believe that it saved our lives, to be able to be mindful in that moment. We were able to walk away from this accident. Some meditation is a practice, but you can be mindful all day, every day. This is the Chinese symbol for listening, and I love that it includes not just the ear, but you, the other person, your eyes, your heart, and your undivided attention. And that's really mindful listening. The way that you communicate, meetings can be more mindful, walking, eating, so kind of your health choices, being able to appreciate and be grateful. Those are really great ways to practice mindfulness and paying attention to the details of what's going on around you. A daily practice is highly recommended, even just starting out with maybe 5 or 10 minutes in the morning. A lot of people like to have music. A lot of people like to listen to guided meditation. Other people don't. They need to have quiet, but these are a couple of recommendations. I use the Headspace app, which I adore, but there's also Insight Timer is a free app and a free website that has, as you can see, over 130,000 free guided meditations for you. Here are some really quick practices for when you get super stressed or you just need to take a second for yourself. Box breathing is actually the breathing technique that the Navy SEALs use, and that involves breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, and then holding again for 4 counts. And you want to repeat that for a couple of minutes, and it really has an impact on bringing the levels down in your system. This other practice is called Take 5, and this is amazing with kids because they can remember this. So you just put your hand out in front of you and trace with your finger from the other hand. So a breath up over your pinky, a breath down, and then up and down over all your fingers to your thumbs. And taking those 5 deep breaths is really, really helpful, and it's easy to remember. So that's mindfulness. That's a practice that we need to be pretty dedicated to. So a practice of meditation and then a practice of being mindful every day. One of the things that mindfulness really contributes is our ability to regulate our emotions. This is a great quote by Viktor Frankl, who was a psychologist who actually spent a lot of time in concentration camps and then was able to come to the US and write his very well-known book, Man's Search for Meaning. And so this is his thought about this is between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose. So being able to respond to emotional stimuli rather than just reacting. So there's that moment when something happens, you're maybe triggered, you have an emotional reaction, and that moment when you can pause and really be intentional and mindful about how you're going to react is very, very powerful. So when you think about possible reactions, think about how you react in a situation where you become angry or you become afraid. think about the ways that you might be able to manage that. These are some options: finding a solution to the problem by solving it, staying stuck in that emotion and just ruminating, going over and over it, allowing the emotion to hijack you and acting out in the moment. So I'm sure all of us can think of examples of times when we did that. You can work to decrease the intensity of the emotional reaction, or you can kind of accept what's going on and acknowledge that you can't change it. So that's a very powerful response, is to be able to figure out what part of your response you have control over. When we think about our emotions, I like to think of emotions not necessarily as negative. They can definitely be uncomfortable and difficult, but if you can reframe the way you approach your own emotions, thinking of them as data, as good information for you to take a look at and consider, as opposed to a directive that just directs immediate behavior. This is a great process to remember called RAIN, and there's actually some meditations around this if this feels helpful to you. It's to recognize, to name, to label what you're feeling. Most of the time we kind of go to this inner circle, and I'll show you a detail of this emotion wheel of mad, sad, happy, like the easy sort of general descriptions, but that doesn't capture it, and it doesn't really allow you to investigate further and maybe find a solution to the issue that's causing this difficult reaction. And so being able to really get very, very specific in labeling, just being able to do that will diffuse it quite a bit. And then to just allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling, going back to that non-judgment of mindfulness, just sort of feel it for a minute, and then try to figure out exactly where it's coming from and what you can do to find a solution. So kind of nurturing yourself, being self-compassionate, but maybe being able to take some action, or being able to release the emotion if it's something that you're not in control, if you're not in control of the situation. So this is just a quick detail of what you can do using this RAIN process. So I feel mad, okay, or I am mad. So starting there, you are not the emotion, you're feeling the emotion. So kind of fixing the way that you are telling this story to yourself. So I'm angry, I feel angry, and getting more specific around it, going deeper, using this wheel to find the exact words. Do I feel let down? Do I feel humiliated? Yeah, I feel let down. Someone let me down and it's making me feel angry. And how I'm reacting to that is that I feel resentful. So going from I'm mad to I feel let down and resentful is very specific. And then, just kind of pausing to have this moment and allowing it to happen, and then investigating what really wants my attention. And if I'm feeling let down and resentful of someone, it's an issue that I'm going to have to address with them. And so making sure I'm taking care of myself in working through this emotion, and then compassionately connecting with the other person to see if we can figure out. So that was quick. Those are just two practices, but together they can be really powerful. There's a lot of research that shows that leaders who are more mindful and more emotionally intelligent are more successful, have higher performing teams. So I hope this helps today. As always, if you have any questions, you can email me.